Blah blah blue, blah blah blue. Here we go. Blazing Saddles. Bill, you picked it. Go.
Did you start the show with a Baba Booey?
Baba
He did.
Booey, Howard Stern.
We watched Blazing Saddles this week,
Yay.
starring Football Hall of Famer and part-time wrestler Alex Karras, who plays the role of Mongo.
Mongo. I did not know. I've seen this movie a lot
Mm-hmm.
over the years. I had no
I-
idea that the Here Comes Mongo from Botchamania is from this movie.
No.
in reference to Steve Mongo McMichael.
Oh, I never put those together either.
They
but
put
yeah.
they put that with
Here
Steve
Comes Mongo.
Mongo, and it's the Here Comes Mongo. I had totally forgotten and didn't realize that this movie has so many of those things in it.
I realized because last week we were talking about it, and I said I wasn't sure if I'd ever actually seen the whole thing or not.
Right.
Turns
You
out I've
did.
seen the first half of it a lot of times. The last half of it I have not seen at all.
Ever. Yeah.
The end of it,
when it gets
I did so.
Oh
okay.
yeah.
Blazing
Right.
Saddles, of course, is a movie by Mel Brooks. It came out in 1974, not in 2014 because he couldn't do that.
Certainly not.
Oh God no.
It had a budget of 2.6 million. Take a guess at what kind of box office this pulled in on a less than $3 million budget.
Uh,
I
In
really have,
74.
I don't have a clue if this
1974.
movie was popular at the time or not. Like obviously it's popular in like DVD.
That's why
I
I'm
think
curious.
I think it was. But I'm gonna say like 70 million.
Okay, that's a lot. Ryan, you have a guess?
30 million. I'm guessing they made more than I think, but
In the U.S. and Canada, it made $119.6 million.
holy fuck! This
Okay,
movie was
okay.
a massive success.
Yes, it sure was.
Wow.
Which then, when we watched it, I thought it was fine. I didn't love it. Didn't like it as much as I thought I was gonna.
Wow. Ouch.
But it was I don't know, controversial. They say a lot of
Very.
things that, and they say it in such a way that clearly they're trying to, show the downfall, the pitfalls of
Yeah.
things like just straight up racism. But
Yeah.
it's
always
Yeah.
always one of the bad characters. It's never Gene Wilder's character. It's never Bart says the N-word a couple times, but it's whenever it's a white person, it's one of the bad characters.
yes.
right.
So we start on the railroad tracks, and we're in the Old West, and we're actually building the railroad. And we get a bunch of white cowboy people who I couldn't tell if they worked for the railroad or if they were just there being a mean gang, because that I feel like kind of comes and goes throughout the movie.
I think Headley controls the railroad, and those are his like goons. Maybe
Yeah.
Headley's the attorney general.
right, but he wants to control the railroad, right? And then
Yes,
that dude
somehow he controls the railroad. And then what was what's his name's character?
Taggart, or are you talking about Taggart?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Slim Pickens, right?
Yes,
That's his name.
yes.
That's his real name. Love that.
His real
Taggart
acting name,
is
at
like
least. Yeah.
yes, is like his goon type guy who's
The leader
running
of
the show.
the gang of goons.
Yeah.
right.
So we see one of his underlings. So we're down to like the secretary or something here. Comes over and they start like picking on the black railroad workers, trying to get them to sing a song. And like, oh, we don't know what you're talking about, because he straight up says like, when you all were slaves, you sang all the time.
Right.
Like, give us something now. And so what do they start singing? They start singing
I've got a taste for champagne.
Yeah.
Something like that.
yeah, it's Dean Martin or something like that.
Mel Brooks, who directed the movie, is like an amazing musical. He sings on a lot of stuff, like personally sings, but all of his movies have amazing music to them. Some of them are flat out musicals. Others just have great songs in them. And the use of music in Blazing Saddles is so good. especially in like this scene where
Yeah.
they sing like the Rat Pack.
Yeah, and then the cowboys going like, "What is this garbage? Sing us Camptown
Camptown Lady.
Camptown Lady." Like, and then they're going like, "I don't know what that is." And this is where we see Cleavon Little. His name is Bart, and at this point, he's just a railroad worker.
Right.
So they basically say like, so they get all dancing and singing themselves, the cowboys, the outlaws, until their boss Taggart comes over, Slim Pickens, and like yells at them, calls them the other F word that's worse than the other F word.
Oh yeah, that shocked me.
Which that
Like,
was one
oh,
thing. Like
that's in this.
That's one thing throughout the movie. They're showing like how bad it is, the blatant like use of like racial epitaphs and stuff.
Yeah, right.
But they have no problem just making fun of people and calling
sexist epitaphs.
yeah. But so they get going. He comes over. He's like, "You got to stop." And then he says, "Like, we need to go see it. We might have some quicksand up ahead." So he's like, "All right, we'll ride over." And he goes, "No. The horses are too valuable. Send a couple of these guys." And like points to the black guys. So Bart and one of his buddies like take the little car and they go down and find out. Sure enough, it is quicksand. So now they can't go the way they're supposed to. They have to basically go through a town if they're going to build out this railroad. So they have to figure out what to do about that. Meanwhile, Bart like drags himself out of the quicksand, and they basically tell him like, "Stop lollygagging. What are you just laying around for?"
We're stuck in quicksand.
Yeah. So then we go and we see, excuse me, Taggart goes to talk to Headley Lamar, who we've talked about,
right?
Who is the main bad guy, basically, who's trying to figure out what to do now. That they have to go through town, and he decides like, "Oh, we'll just kick the people out of town. We'll take it over.
Yeah,
and
just get rid of them all.
We'll go right through town." Yes, state attorney general, right. So he basically sends Taggart and says like, "You're gonna go to town and you're gonna scare them away," and then they'll want a new sheriff, which is what they. So they go to town and they say like, "We need to protect ourselves. We need a new sheriff to come. We'll send to the governor, played by Mel Brooks, of course."
Mm-hmm.
So what do we do? So meanwhile, what is his name? What is, because obviously I just see him as Mel Brooks, but
the governor,
Lepetime.
That's right.
Yes, and he's also the Indian chief later.
Yep. He sure is.
I love the governor character. So funny.
Yes, he just essentially is chasing around his
assistant,
his secretary,
letting him fly.
Yep.
At one point, he's smoking a cigar, and he looks over and he looks right at her breasts and says, "Oh, put the boys to bed. Go back to bed." Like they're children. Like,
work.
Yeah, no, work. Oh, hello, boys.
What an amazing character.
Oh, that's it. We go into town, we meet people, and it's Howard Johnson and Olson Johnson, and
they're
everyone's
all
named Johnsons.
Yeah.
My favorite part is the Howard Johnson ice cream stand, though.
Yeah.
Featuring one flavor.
And the cows are in there too.
Yeah.
Later, it's like people and the cows are in there too, like people.
Yep.
Like on the wall, it says all the people who are involved in the city council, and it's all just different. Two letters and then Johnson. 2 letters. Every single name was 2 letters Johnson.
Yeah.
Do they have like a whole scene later in the church where they're like, "Good point, Mr. Johnson. Well, this is what I have to say as Mr. Johnson." Oh, Mr. Johnson. They just like pass it around. Great.
Howard Johnson's correct about Mr. Olson Johnson being correct.
Yeah, that's great.
So we go back and Taggart's saying like, we need to. He's trying to figure out how he can explain this to himself that they want a sheriff. Meanwhile, outside the governor's office, or outside of his office, we're seeing people just being hung by the Igor character.
Oh my god! Yeah.
and we see a guy in a wheelchair getting hung.
Yes.
And then at the next scene, we see a guy on his horse, both being hung. They have a
the
noose
horse is
around the
being
horse's
hung?
neck as
Yeah.
well. And he even says at one point, there's like a loud noise and it scares his underling. And he's just like, oh, don't worry. That's just a man and a horse being hung. But he decides, he looks out and he sees that there is his underling wants Bart to be hung because after he's so racist, Bart hits him in the head.
He hits him in the head with a
frying
shovel.
pan or shovel. Yeah,
Yep.
shovel. So he's like, he needs to go. And the hangman's like, I can't possibly fit him in until next week.
Which I'm pretty sure it's the same hangman as Robin
is.
Hood Men in Tights.
It is the same hangman in Robin Hood Men in Tights. Yep. He's like in medieval gear too. He's not in like Wild West.
Yeah.
He looks like a knight.
He's got like chainmail on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we go. So he says to the governor, "This is what we need to do," and he's like, "Oh, we can't make him." And he grabs Bart, and he's like, "We can't make him the sheriff because he's the N-word, basically." And then realizes he's who he's talking to. He's like, "Oh, go back over there." And he pulls.
There's never been a black sheriff before.
Yeah. So he pulls Headley Lamar aside and is like, we can't do this. He's black. They're going to reject him as soon as he gets there. But Headley,
can't you see that man is a meh? And
yeah.
he stops both times.
So he says, like, they're going to kill him. We can't do this. Which is exactly what, not Taggart, I keep wanting to call him, what Headley Lamar wants to do. But he turns it around and says, no. Think of it. You'll be the governor that appoints the first black sheriff. Like, you'll be famous for it. He's like, all right, good. Back to work. And then he like chases the secretary off again.
Sorry, boys. Affairs of state must come before affairs of state. And then they walk out and he immediately undoes his pants and pulls them down and waddles by. Oh, my God.
So Bart gets sent into town, even though he was just a railroad worker. Is this where he just happens upon Count Basie or Count Basie in the desert?
Yeah.
It's just like they high five each other and he keeps on going. So they get into town and the town folk have gathered. They're going to welcome their new sheriff. They're also happy.
Right. They had like a welcoming planning party.
A guy on the roof who keeps trying to say he's an N-word, but the bell tolls every time he says it, so they can't hear what he's saying.
I think his name is Gabby Johnson, and he only talks in like, what was the character in The Waterboy?
Oh, the assistant coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He only talks like that.
Yeah. Deep Woods, God. West Virginia, whatever.
Rabble kind of.
So he goes into town and they all like stop. The band stops playing. Like no one knows what to do. Yeah. So he gets up on stage and says, "Excuse me while I whip this out." Reaches into his pants.
Oh God! He's gonna pull his dick out.
And he pulls out like the little decree that says he's a sheriff, and everyone immediately pulls their gun on him.
Yeah.
So then he pulls his own gun on himself in one of my favorite scenes in this movie.
Yeah.
And like points it at his own head. He's like,
yeah.
Anybody moves, he's gonna get it.
He takes himself hostage in front of them all. And then one lady's like, "Is anybody gonna do anything to help that man?
He's gonna do it. Put your guns down."
And then he gets
Easy,
like
boys, he's just crazy enough to do it.
He get into the sheriff's office and he's like, "They're really stupid.
Help me.
He's gonna kill me." And he pulls himself and he's like, "Why, they are racist and so very dumb."
Yeah, dumb.
Once he's in there, he goes to wake up his second in command, who happens to be a very drunk Gene Wilder.
He's the trope of all Westerns, which is the kick-ass gunfighter. There's almost every Western has this.
Yeah.
Kick-ass gunfighter who's drank himself into oblivion and can't fight anymore.
Yeah.
But really, when it comes down to brass tacks, he can really shoot. He's a
But
real
he's
shooter.
like hanging upside down in bed, and he's in Bart
He
walks
is
in and
literally
says,
upside down.
"Are we awake?" And he's like, "We are not sure. Are we black?" And Bart's like, "Yes, we are." He goes, "Then we are awake, but we are very puzzled."
Gene Wilder, the Waco Kid.
Yes.
Which
And we
the
see
story of the Waco Kid is hilarious too. Later when he actually
Well,
talks
it's right
about
here. He's
what
explaining about.
is this where it is. It makes it seem like he shot a kid, but he actually gets shot in his own ass by the kid.
Steady as a rock. Yeah, but I shoot with this hand.
Yeah, it's all over the place. Because then, yes, Bart goes out to like ingratiate him with the townfolk, and they just yell at him and spit at him, and they don't like him. So he comes back in, and then that's where Gene's like starting to sober up a little bit and telling him his story and how he just like he doesn't have it anymore. He doesn't shoot, but he says like, I don't know, like these people don't like you. They're not gonna like you.
Yeah, he's very skeptical. This is never gonna work. You know that, right?
Yeah. And then we go back to the camp for perhaps Tom Cashin's favorite scene of the movie. They're all sitting around the fire eating beans.
Farting? Yeah.
Burping and farting and
there's which
this
Monty
is supposedly the first time that farting was ever recorded in a movie.
Oh, really?
In 74? That was the first time?
In 74, yeah.
Because I remember what Monty Python movie was it? Where they're around a campfire farting at the beginning.
Oh, no.
There's a Monty Python movie where they're roasting something around a fire and they're all farting. That's how it starts. Probably in the 70s as well, I'm sure.
Yeah. So they're trying to figure out like, well, now what? Did I lose you? There we go. Like, what's our play now? And they decide, well, of course we got to send Mongo, and it's just this giant mongoloid
Mongo
dummy in the background. They're all eating like a little bit of beans, and he's just got like a ladle full that he's just shoveling into his mouth. And he is clearly an idiot. He's a dummy, but he's giant. So he basically
dummy. One of my
Taggart
favorites.
goes over to him and says, "What? Like, do you want to go and like cause some ruckus?
Mayhem or something?"
Yeah.
Or is that later that the guy says my specialties are rape, mayhem, and rape. I really like rape.
Oh yes, I think that's what he's trying to get together his new game.
Yeah.
New gang. So they basically say like, all right, we'll send Mongo in. And that's where you get the whole, as he rolls into town riding a bull, the giant horns and everything,
right.
Not on a horse, on a bull. And all the townsfolk go running away, hiding.
Yeah. Is this where the guy runs? There's a funny scene, might have been earlier, where a guy runs and dives through a window to get away from somebody.
From Mongo
into like a shop.
Thrown back out.
Then he comes right back out the other window.
Yeah. I think that's when the first time that they send
the first mob. Yeah.
Yeah, the first mob.
That's funny.
But yeah. Oh, we didn't mention the guy who was in the outhouse, like the.
Oh yeah, the outhouse gets knocked over, and the dude has like
he's
soap all
covered.
over him.
Yeah.
That was good.
I don't know why, but that's always one of my favorites.
So they're gonna send him into town to kill Bart, and he goes in, and he's causing havoc in the bar and beating people up and punching horses, which is a theme on our show. All of a sudden,
a lot of horse punching going on in this show.
Yeah,
this fifth year.
But then we get Bart all of a sudden shows up dressed as like a page boy.
Yeah.
Hold on, I do want to go back a little bit.
Okay.
Because we did talk about Gene Wilder. What the hell is his name? Jim.
The Waco
Jim,
Kid,
yeah.
Jim.
The Waco Kid, yeah. His character like reassuring Bart after he had went out, and he's going through, these people are simple, morons. And Cleavon Little loses his mind. He just starts laughing because he wasn't told that that's what the line was going to be. So
really?
His laughter is just genuine. I love it. I love that.
I might have that. Let me see if I have that quote.
I think Gene Wilder was a replacement. If I remember, Mel Brooks was talking about this.
Yeah.
He got called in at the last minute to do the part for somebody else,
Oh,
and
was it?
the Bart was supposed to be played by somebody else too.
Bart was supposed to be Richard
Richard
Pryor.
Pryor.
It was supposed to be Richard Pryor, but Richard Pryor didn't
Yeah.
want to be in it. He just wanted to write
No.
it.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't
Oh,
think
okay. Gig Young was supposed to be Gene Wilder.
right,
Gig
and
Young was
it
supposed to
got
be Jim.
changed at the last minute.
Yeah.
Mel had to call in Gene Wilder.
So this line was Bart had just gotten like insulted by the old woman, and so Jim says, "What did you expect? Welcome, Sonny. Make yourself at home. Marry my daughter. You got to remember, these are just simple farmers. These are people of the land, the common clay of the New West. You know, morons."
So good.
Oh God, I love that. Yeah. So back to Mongo beating people up in the bar.
Yeah. So he comes in.
Candy Graham.
Candy Graham from Mongo.
For Mongo. What?
But he's a simpleton, so he loves the idea of candy.
Mm-hmm.
And it like blows up in his face.
Yep.
He's essentially handed him a bomb, which allows them to not kill, but essentially arrest Mongo. And they've got him tied up on the outside of the jail cell.
And
in the sheriff's office.
They do the Looney Tunes music. Like he gives them the bomb and
Yep.
it explodes, and they play the Looney Tunes song.
He walks out like Bugs Bunny a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's back inside. Now the people are like being nice to him and stuff because he saved the town. And Waco Kid's like, "I don't know how you did it." And he goes, "He was nothing. The bitch was inventing the candygram. They probably won't even give me credit for it."
Yeah. That's the first time that I caught that joke. I was watching it this time.
I invented the candygram right now.
So they like him now. So they have to figure out. So now we go back to Headley, and he's furious that nothing's working out. So he's got. Oh, I didn't understand. What was the joke the whole time where they were calling him Hetty instead of Headley, and it was like a huge.
She was a famous actress.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But she was a famous actress in like the 50s and 60s.
Because he says like it's the 70s, you'll be able to sue her or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't get it, but that is why. So he basically says, "All right, I'm gonna call in Lily von Stupp, a German seductress, essentially." He says like she will take him down. And then so back from the top. So this movie came out in 1970.
Don't start again.
All right, so
yeah.
So
Mongo likes them now. Is that where we were? I forget.
So so they've stopped Mongo from. Everyone likes him for defeating Mongo. Mongo now likes him because he's never been whooped before. So they say,
Right.
"All right, Mongo, it's time to go home," and he just like rips the ropes off, but he like sticks around.
Yeah.
So Hedley Lamar very upset.
Oh, we were talking about why Hedley Lamar. That's when it started to cut out.
Yeah.
Why Hedley Lamar is a joke.
Because I did not understand. They kept calling him Hetty, and I did not know why this was so funny.
Some actor.
Yeah. Some actress in the 60s, I think it was.
Okay, so in the 70s, people would have definitely known who she was then.
Yeah.
But he decides, I'll send in this German seductress.
30s and 40s, my bad.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
The golden age, right?
Oh yeah.
Lily von Stupp, the German seductress, will like go and take him down.
Right.
And we get the nice awkward scene of Hedley like trying to grab her boobs and stuff. And she's just like, "No, leave me alone." It's like just a little.
He's great. Hedley is great.
Yep.
So good.
So now we're gonna send her in. So she does a show, and this is one of Mel Brooks' songs, where she sings about how tired she is,
Right?
Because she slept with 1,000 dudes, and she's just over it.
Don't care about sex anymore.
Yeah. And then we at the end of the show, essentially she sends for Bart. Says send him in here. So he goes back and meets her and ends up going into the bedroom with her. But then you just hear her from the other side of the door with her she has a weird lispy thing going on.
Yeah.
Right.
But you hear her go, "Oh, it's true, it's true." She gets
yeah. She says, "Is it true you're very gifted? Your people are very gifted." Oh, it is true.
Yeah.
But then it's not that because he's just eating kielbasis. Like he's eating sausage, right?
In the morning, she
yeah.
Was
puts
that
one
the
back.
next day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the next day he's eating them.
There was
'Cause-
supposed to be a joke where he was supposed to respond with, "I'm sorry to disappoint you, but that's my arm."
So in the morning, like this has blown up in their face because now she loves him, and he's just
Right.
like, I gotta go back to work. Like, thanks for cooking me all these kielbasas and all these sausages for breakfast, but I have to go. So now, not only is Mongo on his side, but so is Lily. So now Headley, all his henchmen are like falling away. So he decides he needs to get a whole new gang.
Right. Crop of bag dudes.
Yeah.
And that's
So
when they
we-
have to apply.
Yeah. So we see, and they go through line, and it's just like cowboys, and then they show like a Mexican cowboy,
Yeah.
and they show Nazis.
Yeah. Nazis are there. Ku Klux Klan.
You
Yeah.
see some camels.
Yeah.
And that's where you get them talking about, I really like rape. And he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that one guy. He's like, what are excuse me, what are your qualifications? Rape?
Yes. And
Mayhem?
he yells at
More
one
rape?
person for chewing gum, and he's like, I hope you
Oh,
brought enough
yeah.
for everyone.
Yeah, that was great. What's in your mouth? That's just gum. Boom! He shoots him right in the gut. He kills him for chewing gum. And then
Yeah.
they show the one guy is like, boy, that guy's strict.
Yep. So Bart and Jim trick the KKK who
Yeah.
attacked the line by
Right.
basically
Hey, look
he
at
was
this.
like, hey, look who I found. And then Bart
Bart
sticks his head out and goes, where's the white women?
Where the white women at?
So they go chasing them out, and they come out dressed up, and they go up and they're like, what's your qualifications? And he goes, stampeding cattle. He goes, well, that's not much of a crime. He goes, through the Vatican. And he just goes, kinky.
Through the Vatican.
Kinky.
But they're found out, and they're almost killed by this group of, well, what does he call
Right.
them later? He has a whole description of them.
I forget, but he has to produce his paperwork or something, like, or sign something. I forget.
Oh yeah.
He reaches out. Bart reaches out, and obviously his hands are black. And Gene Wilder says something like, I told you to get those burns fixed," or something like.
To make sure to wash up after a cross burning. See, it's coming
that's
out.
what it was. Yeah.
He shows him his palm. It's just
So they're trying to figure out what to do with them, and Hedley Lamar, they characterize this crew of flunkies as rustlers, cutthroats, murderers, bounty
Yes.
hunters, desperados, mugs, pugs, thugs, nitwits, halfwits, dimwits, vipers, snipers, conmen, Indian agents, Mexican bandits, muggers, buggerers, bushwhackers, hornswogglers, horse thieves, bulldogs, train robbers, bank robbers,
Bulldogs.
ass kickers, shit kickers, and Methodists.
Methodists. Oh, bulldogs. I think that was stuck in there.
Yep.
So good.
But so now they know this crew of flunkies is coming into town, and they got to do something.
Right.
So he gathers up the whole town, and
Is
then
this-
first, sorry, go ahead.
This is where we get Big Lebowski. Actor, what's his name? David Huddleston, who
I
is
don't know.
Lebowski in the Big Lebowski, is in this movie
As Olsen Johnson.
as Olsen Johnson. Yep, he is like the one who's like, dumb idea to let's all get out of here, because aren't they in their cars with the town packed up, and he's there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's Lebowski.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, we're leaving town. He's like, you can't leave town. So he's like, all right, give me 24 hours to come up with a plan, a brilliant plan to save us. So he and Jim go out to get the railroad workers, all his old friends from all the black folks he was friends with, and says like, "Come on, you got to help us build up a town, help protect it. It'll be worth it." And then he calls the town together, and he basically says, "We're gonna work together. We're gonna build a fake town for them to come and destroy. And in exchange for the help doing this, you have to let these folks have their own homestead." And all the white people are disgusted and they don't want to do it. And he's like, "They're going to save you. So you have to give them something." So then I wish that I had this actual quote, but one of them is like, "Fine, they can come. We'll allow them and the Mexicans, and we'll allow, the Chinese, but no Irish."
Right.
All right.
Everyone agrees. Like even the black guys and the Mexican guys,
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, no Irish."
Yeah, no Irish. And someone else like, "No, everyone can come."
It's all right. We'll give some land to the N words and the C words for Chinese people,
right.
but we don't want the
racists.
Irish.
Yeah, and everyone, including the black guys and the Chinese guys, agree.
Yeah. We also didn't talk about the mob of bad guys where the quote of the movie happens, where the one Mexican dude comes up and is like, "Here's your badge," because they have to pretend to be law enforcement. And that's when he says, "Badges, we don't need no stinking badges.
We don't need no stinking badges."
Which is the quote of this movie, which really is like means nothing.
That is not the quote of this movie.
It's the one that gets like repeated.
It's the one everyone talks about. But really, it shouldn't be, right?
No, it's from that quote is from something of the Sierra Madre. It's from a different movie. They're making fun of it. Dumbasses.
I don't remember. I've never seen that movie.
So yeah, overnight they build a fake replica of a town, just like the building fronts, not like the whole building.
Almost like Hollywood would build.
Yeah, kind of like that. And then they do it, but they come and they're like, "Oh, this looks great, but we're missing one thing, the people." So it's like, "All right, everyone make an exact replica of yourself." So they, as people are doing this, Jim and Mongo go help Bart go to construct something to slow down the bad guys, and they set up a toll booth, a 10-cent, the Le Petamine Thruway.
Right.
And it's a 10. So you hear one of them.
He's the governor.
Someone go get a shitload of dimes and they send someone running back to the camp.
Oh my god!
And you can see on either side, like
you just get around it.
It's just exactly.
It's a wide open desert. Yeah, it's like the APA door to their office. You better knock.
Just a door on a frame. No, there's no walls. You
Um,
didn't use the door.
So it takes forever for them to get through the toll booth, and by the time they're ready to get there, there's dynamite all over town. So the bad guys ride in. Bart pushes the little movie prop thing to set it off, and nothing happens. So they're like, "Well, Jim, it's up to you now, Waco Kid." And of course, from a mile away wherever they are, pulls out his pistol, he shoots the dynamite, and it explodes, and they all go flying. And then all the town folk running after the bomb, and the fracas is on.
Right.
And this is where
the movie gets crazy.
Yeah, it breaks.
So they start fighting, and then
the fourth wall,
and they break every rule. Yeah.
They go through an actual wall, and all of a sudden they're no longer in the Old West, but they're in Hollywood.
Right. Fighting in the whatever
into the Warner Brothers studio.
Yeah, Warner Brothers.
And they go into a neighboring set where there's a musical going on. Dom DeLuise is directing. And this is where they're very much making fun of gay men.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Dom DeLuise is in a bunch of Mel Brooks movies as awesome parts.
Yeah.
And this part is very goofy as well. Isn't he's in History of the World as like the king's assistant, right? It's a very similar part. And isn't he in Robin Hood Men in Tights as the assassin or whatever? Is that him?
No, as what the hell is his name? The Don. or
Yeah,
whatever.
the guy, yeah, the Don who cut out the guy's tongue.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
he's petting his
La
pet
la la
lizard.
la la.
He,
I haven't
That's
seen
a
that movie in a long time.
yeah. That's a part of rerun
He kept going
many many
la
things.
la
La,
la.
la, la, la,
so he cut out his tongue.
la.
So yeah,
Your
they
lizard seems very limp. Well, at my age. Oh, you mean my pet lizard? Oh, come on, that's one of his funnier lines. You guys suck.
Oh, sorry.
chuckled. Um, so it turns into
I'm
like
looking something up. Come on.
they have a pie fight, and it just turns into like the weirdest fight through. And they spill out into the streets. And you see the citizens chase the villains back into town, and then you see Heather Lamar take a taxi and just says like, "Oh, I need to get off of this picture," is what he says.
Hmm.
So he arrives at the Chinese theater, and he sees that Blazing Saddles is going to premiere. So he's like, "All right, I guess I'll go watch that." Um, but then on the movie screen, he sees that Bart is already there, and he ends up shooting him
Suck.
in the junk
Right. He shoots him in the penis.
to kill him, I guess.
Yeah, he dies.
And then Bart and Jim go into the theater and get some popcorn, and they watch the end of the movie that they're in presently. They sit down to watch the end of.
Well, they do that in Spaceballs too, where they're like they watch the DV or the video, the VHS of Spaceballs to see what happens next.
I have never gotten past 10 minutes of that movie.
Oh my god,
That movie is not funny. At least the first 10 minutes are not.
That's
So after the film, we see Bart leaving town, and everyone's sad. They don't want to see him go. But he's like, no, I have to go fight justice anywhere in the world where they need it. And the whole town calls BS on him. And he's like, all right, I just want to leave. It's just, I'm
it's
bored.
getting boring.
I'm bored.
So he and Jim ride off together. Jim's still eating his popcorn from the movie. And they say they're going to go to a nowhere special, and they ride off and hand their horses to like a film crew or something, to just people. And they get into a limo and drive off into the sunset.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
They get
Be
in the
honest
limo.
with me. Is the fourth wall part, like, is the end of this movie just above my head? It's too good for me to understand, because I thought it just kind of got dumb.
Well, Monty Python also did that. The
Yeah.
Holy Grail ends that way. It just ends with the fourth wall getting broken.
Monty Python I watched recently, and it was not that good. There were
Yeah.
funny parts, there were funny lines, but as a whole, I did not think it was very funny.
I agree.
Wow. Monty Python Holy Grail or Monty Python Flying Circus or what?
Holy Grail.
Okay.
Yeah.
There were still good lines, but as a whole, I was not so enthused anymore.
Wow.
So we didn't mention the Mongo only pawn game of life.
Oh yes, when
And
he
I love
waxes
I love
philosophical.
Yes, right.
Mongo only pawn game of life.
He was great. A rare wrestler in a movie who actually does something great.
He acts in a ton of stuff.
Yeah, but he was awesome in this. Like, did a great job with that part.
Yeah.
I don't know why. So I love Mel Brooks. Obviously, I showed the collector's edition that I have.
Mm-hmm.
There was a documentary on HBO a while ago, detailing some of his other stuff, like The 1,000-Year-Old Man. Have you ever heard that?
No.
It's a radio play with him and Carl Reiner, right? And Carl Reiner interviews Mel Brooks, who is a man who has lived 1,000 years, and he just asks him questions, and it's all ad-libbed. A lot of it's ad-libbed, and it's hilarious. Some of the stuff, like some of the questions he asked, but it's like an hour-long radio play where it's just like basically stand-up, where he's just like, so you've lived 1,000 years. What happened here? And what about this? And he just answers in like ridiculous jokes. Fantastic.
And he's playing the 1,000-Year-Old Man.
Yeah, Mel is the 1,000-Year-Old Man. It's very funny. There's a bunch of, they did it for years. There's many versions of it. Yeah, I love all of his movies. I love him. Just listening to him talk is awesome. His Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. Have you ever seen that show
No.
where Jerry Seinfeld drives around and interviews comics?
I know what you're talking about, but he
He's
did
on
one
there
of
in
them?
one. He's hilarious. It's like he's very old now. Is he 90 something years old now?
Yeah.
So him and Carl Reiner remain best friends even when they were old. And when Comedians in Cars recorded, they would eat dinner together every like Thursday night, or I'm not sure if it was every night or a couple nights a week. They would eat dinner together, and they showed this like they went to Mel Brooks' house and like showed them eating dinner together, and Seinfeld was there too, and they were talking about what they did. And they would order food, they would watch Jeopardy, and then they would watch a movie, like an action movie, and made fun of it. That's what they would do for fun. And they would eat whatever this food was. And the criteria of like what they would watch was like any action movie that had like goofy lines in it that had to have like those goofy like action movie lines in it. It was very funny. So yeah. I don't know if this movie, yeah, I like this movie a lot still. I still think it's pretty
Mel
fun.
Brooks is 94 years old.
Yeah, he's very old.
Yeah.
I thought that it was good, and it was maybe just because I had such high expectations, but
Yeah.
I think it really lost me at the end.
Yeah.
It's like most comedy movies have a really difficult time ending. Like if you look at all of Will Ferrell's movies,
Yeah,
you start out
Yeah.
so hot, or like the premise is so funny, and then by the
you
time
got to wrap it up.
they have to wrap it up, it just doesn't work. So it's
Yeah.
almost like we know this isn't going to make sense, so let's go crazy.
Yeah,
Like
so let's really go for it.
let's go as insane as we can go. I don't know. It's also like at not in 74, but a lot of those movies earlier on are like all the movies are about Hollywood making movies. Like like a bunch of them back in the day. I remember for film class I had to watch a bunch of them. Like there's a whole genre of like we're making a movie about making a movie. Like that was a whole thing
Yeah,
back in the day. So I think it's making fun of that too.
I like Ed Wood.
Ed Wood. This is weird. So in the box set, I've got all the things here, and all of his movies came out. I cannot find the reason why, but all of his movies came out of 20th Century Fox, except this one.
Warner Brothers.
The only one came out from Warner Brothers. I cannot find a reason behind that.
I don't know.
Is it not because of all the
It could be.
like
It
racist
certainly
language
could
and
be
stuff?
because of they didn't want to put it out, but
Yeah.
it's crazy. Yeah. There's so much information about this movie. It's crazy. It's hard to keep.
Oh, he was at the Battle of the Bulge. Holy crap.
Yeah. In the HBO documentary about him, he says how he fought in World War II. And there was, like I said, he was a singer. Like he loved to sing. And they got to some battle. I forget where it was. And the Germans were on one side, and him and his guys are on the other side. And he just started singing, like it was over the night. And he just started singing to them, to the Germans. It was like a ceasefire, like an overnight ceasefire. Like we're gonna agree to not kill each other right now. And he sang to them, and they were clapping for him and asking him to do more and stuff because he would just stand up and sing at night.
That's funny.
How ridiculous he is. What a ridiculous man. Yeah, great movie. I guess I'm gonna go with great movie.
I'm gonna go with it's a decent movie.
All right,
Yeah,
that means you're up, Wally.
I'm up.
Oh boy.
Well,
no, come on.
it's on Netflix, so it's easy to watch.
Okay, I like that. Why are you so upset already?
Because of the way he went. Well,
Oh boy.
Little Nicky.
yeah,
Oh,
that's why.
God.
That's why, Ryan.
Oh, it hurts me in my soul.
I don't know if I've seen it or not. I think I've seen part of it and gave up on it. I think it's one of those movies.
What was the last movie you made us watch?
It was a good one. Escape from New York.
Escape from New York. So
It's
that
not
counts
a
as
good one.
Good and bet,
He's
way better than
okay.
this. I watched Escape from New York 1,000 times instead of Little Nicky. Oh, Little Nicky, why do you do this to us? Who's in Little
Adam
Nicky?
Sandler with his weird talking.
Tiny Lister.
Oh, Tiny. Oh boy, Little Nicky. Yikes.
Yep.
That hurts. That hurts. All right.
Well, on that note,
On that note, that's it.
I hope
All
it's
right.
like 94 minutes.
I hope it's short. It better be short. Peace out, everybody. See you next week.